Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ishan Goswami, the sports captain of Shiv School, Gurgaon. I would like to inform you all that today we have with us two of the biggest sporting legends of the nation who took out their precious time for us to participate in this session. On behalf of the whole school, I would like to welcome Viswanathan Anand sir and Geet Sethi sir. I would like to invite Raspreet ma'am on stage, who will be the moderator for us today. Raspreet Sethi ma'am is the head of sports at Shiv School and the captain of the Indian women's national basketball team. She has been playing for the nation for the past 18 years and the only player to have played 3 consecutive Asian Games and Commonwealth Games. Now, may I please invite Viswanathan Anand sir on stage. Viswanathan sir is an Indian chess grandmaster and a former 5-time world chess champion. He became the first grandmaster from India in 1988 and is one of the first players to have surpassed an ELO rating of 2800, a feat he first achieved in 2006. In 2022, he was elected the Deputy President of FIDE. Anand sir was the first recipient of Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award in 1991 to 1992, India's highest sporting honor. In 2007, he was awarded India's highest civilian award, the Padma Vibhushan, making him the first sportsman to receive the award. Also, it was Anand sir's birthday yesterday, so on behalf of the whole school, I would like to wish him a very happy birthday. Now, may I please invite Geet Sethi sir on stage. Geet sir is a professional player of English billiards who dominated the sports throughout the much of 1990s. He is also a notable snooker player. He is a 5-time winner of the professional level and a 3-time winner of the amateur world championships and the holder of 2 world records in English billiards. Along with Mr. Prakash Padukone, Mr. Sethi has co-founded Olympic Gold Quest, a foundation for the promotion of sports in India. May I now request Monica ma'am to present the token of appreciation to our guests. May I now request Raspreet ma'am to kindly begin with the fireside chat with our legends.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the entire Shiv Nadar School fraternity, I take this opportunity to really thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being here today. It is indeed a pleasure to share the space with both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So in the interest of time, and we'll just dive down into the session with the fire chat. I'll start with Viswanathan sir first and then next with you, sir. I'm sure you've heard this a lot, and this is a very common question you must have come across. What inspired you to pick up chess and become a chess player?
Simply that I came into contact with the game. I mean, you don't pick something, something picks you is usually how it works. But I was lucky in many ways. So my mother was a chess player, and her family was full of chess players. So my uncles played chess even at university, my grandfather and so on. So she knew the rules. So the moment I stumbled onto the game and I wanted to learn it, there was someone there who was able to teach me right away. And that's just how it got started. Essentially, I don't remember not thinking about chess after that. So,
right, thank you, sir. Also, would you like to share your journey in becoming India's first Grandmaster?
I was 15 when I became India's first international master. That's one title lower. And I had become Asian Junior Champion. So I had to start trying to become a Grandmaster. And in those days, India did not have a single Grandmaster. Now we've just had our 77th. But in those days it was, in fact, when you told someone that you're a chess player, that was one of two questions that they asked you. What did you think of Fischer Spassky? And why don't we have any Grandmasters? So I spent 2 years trying to become a Grandmaster. It's basically performing at a certain level 3 times, totaling 24 games, and then you get the title. Once you get it, it's for life, but that's how you achieve it. And initially I thought it was going to be easy because my first tournament, which was in Calcutta, I missed by just half a point. So the obvious conclusion you'll draw is that this is much closer than it is. In fact, it didn't. That was an anomaly, and it took quite a while, quite some persistence, and just keep trying. One person told me that it's quite normal that when you have some goal like this, it seems unattainable, and then one day, without realizing it, you overshoot, and that's how it comes. And indeed, it was so. So I even became World Junior Champion while trying for this title, but in December 87, so I started in 86, December 87, I played 2 tournaments. One was in Delhi, in the Soviet Cultural Center, the Botanic School, and the other one was in Coimbatore, back home. So, and exactly like he had said, this tournament suddenly, instead of hitting the norm, I overshot, and that's how I became a Grandmaster.
Thank you, sir. That is indeed so inspiring to hear. Because we have majority of students as audience, I would love for you to share, did you have any confusion in your high school years to choose a career?
I was extremely lucky. Sometimes chess players say that you don't decide to become a chess player, you decide not to become one. Because, once you're hooked onto chess and you think, your world starts to revolve around it. I was extremely lucky. At every moment when I would have doubted and I would have had to make a decision, in fact, my results got much better. So when I was getting 10th standard, it's a decision point, right? You choose which subjects you're going to do and all that. I became national champion just a month before. So that kind of makes you feel better about your choice, you're more relaxed about it. So again, no hesitation or anything like that. Then 2 years later, I became a grandmaster and world junior champion, just 2 months after my +2. So once again, it reinforced the idea that I was on the right path. And when I nonetheless went to do my BCom, I have no idea why. I have no idea what I wanted to do with it. It seemed like a good insurance policy. So that did continue. But when I finished my BCom, I was number 5 in the world. So then I knew that I'm not going to do anything more. I'm going to be a full-time chess player, and it worked. I really think this is very serendipitous because quite often your results can be off by a year, but then you overthink the consequences of what you're going to do and so on. I was very lucky.
Thank you for sharing, sir. I was seeing your interview with Faye D'Souza, and she mentioned that she quoted something from the book, an advice someone gave you. So I would like to read that out. It always makes sense to keep working on your goals without obsessing over how far are you from it. If you persevere, it will eventually be yours. So your thoughts on setting the goals and perseverance?
A lot of goals are long-term. Even in a chess game, if I try to prepare myself for something, I cannot be sure that it will happen. I cannot even be sure when it will happen. So almost always you have to do your work in a very general frame of mind, and when you'll have to execute it when you least expect to. It's very rare that you're actually pumped up to do something and you get the chance to do it. Quite often when you're pumped up to do one thing, something else will keep appearing. So it's and simply work accumulates. Every time you fix one problem, another one appears. It keeps happening. So you should just work think about the long term. And another thing I found in my life, that quite often I worked very hard for something. I played in that competition, I did badly. And the obvious tendency is to think it's a failure. But many years, months, even years later, suddenly this work that I had done and I'd forgotten I'd done will turn out to be very useful. I can use it there. And so it pays off someday. That's what I believe. But you can't reduce it to a career plan. You can't reduce it to I'm going to do this, this, this. You have to take the journey as it comes and figure it out.
Also, it is important, and I'm sure both of you will agree with me, that sports is a life skill. It teaches you so much more than, So one of that, which is my personal favorite, is it allows you to cope with the losses and you lose gracefully. So how did you cope with the losses? Were your losses always the learning? Did you take them as a learning experience, or how was it for you, sir?
My answer to that is twofold. One is I simply learned how to behave, which is to keep a certain face to the public. Of course, I don't cope with losses. I don't know anyone who does. If you don't go back and feel miserable, then perhaps you didn't want it enough. But in public, you have to keep a certain facade on. And believe me, you can see people break down in press conferences and so on because journalists keep needling them. And you can see that they can only pretend so long. And it's really under the surface. I can relate to that. But when I've done badly, I can give very, very short answers, appear very curt and so on. So, people who can sense this can understand that I'm not coping at all. The second thing is simply you learn responsibility. If I'm playing a tournament of 9 rounds and I lose in the 4th, am I going to get so upset? But then I lose the 5th as well. If I stay upset, I don't get a grip on myself, I lose the 6th. Now my job is to put off what has already gone in the past and park it mentally. I'll deal with it after the tournament's over, but not now. And so, yes, chess has taught me that discipline, and it's also helped me train my acting.
We have a lot of budding chess players in the audience as well from across all three schools.
It's wonderful, and there's one more grandmaster in this room.
Yes,
So.
Prithu Gupta is right there. So, just wanted to know, sir, what is the most important skill for someone to, who wants to pursue chess as a career, according to you? What is the most important skill?
You have to do it often. You have to keep on playing and practicing. Chess is in a kind of flux right now, where we're being flooded with new information, new conclusions, new training methods, all that, because technology is such a big part of chess nowadays. And if it's very hard to get to a place where you think, I'm now well trained and this will work for 1 or 2 years, because something new will appear and you have to adjust again. So the most successful people are the ones who practice often. It's the best way to absorb this. The computer is throwing up too much for us to be able to understand everything. But if you feel it at some level, then you deal with it intuitively. And I think in chess, you just have to keep at it, whether you understand it or not, whether you figure everything out or not. You just keep at it, practice hard. Besides that, the usual things, stay fit, sleep well, those kinds of things also. So healthy lifestyle, all that is fine. But I think dedication and commitment, that's really what it is.
Thank you, sir. Also, when you became the Grandmaster, the international arena were, how did you feel when you were surrounded by lots of Russians and you were the only Indian playing alongside them? So would you like to take us back to those times and just share your experiences?
Yes, again, you'd be surprised because you think the Soviets, they all hang out together and they're all thinking of how to deal with you. And in fact, most of the time they were just thinking, where can I get drunk this evening? And, they just, once Perestroika had already started a couple of years before I became a Grandmaster. And many of them were traveling abroad for the first time. They were getting some chances to play, and their country was loosening up, and they were enjoying every minute. I made a lot of friends. Language was a big barrier. So, I think language is the thing that separates everybody into groups very easily. But many of them, I have no idea what I understood or what they said and what they understood or what I said, but we got along and it was fine. There was one tournament but I understood that, there are the rest of them, and then there's, let's say, Karpov and Kasparov, and these guys are different. So with them, you have this feeling of fighting everything, the Soviet chess school, their expertise, their professionalism, all that. But aside from not speaking Russian, I was able to mingle quite easily. I played one tournament which was really funny. I was playing in Italy, in Reggio Emilia, and I was the only participant not from the Soviet Union. So the 9 others were from the Soviet Union. And we played 1991, December. So we started the tournament. On New Year's Eve, the Soviet Union dissolved. So suddenly there were like 6 or 7 countries in that tournament from 2. And when I finished the tournament, I won. It was one of my best results ever, and the results stood out. But it also made me the last Soviet champion. So after that, it was simply not possible for them to catch up. And many of my trainers, many of my best friends are from there. So I think the us versus them thing was very much a Cold War Fisher product. The Soviets or the Russians and Ukrainians and everyone else I met were just normal guys. So.
Thank you, sir. That was quite interesting to know. Just in the interest of time, last question for you. What is the advice you would like to give the young generation?
Probably nothing they haven't heard before, but I would emphasize that the world is changing so fast. Learn, be passionate about what you're doing, but be a little bit flexible. Keep aware, keep interested in other topics, and you might have to change your career or your plans a couple of times in your life. So, if you sort of don't resist it, it'll be that much easier. But otherwise, just enjoy yourselves. So.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I really don't want to end this fire chat, but of course I have to go to Geet, Sethi, sir, and it was quite insightful. Thank you once again. So, similar first question for you. What inspired you to pick up billiards as a sport?
So when I was in school and, till the age of 13, almost 13 or 14, I used to play all sport. Table tennis, badminton, I was a national level swimmer as a junior, and basketball, cricket, just on the field all the time. And at the age of 13, actually, the clubs all over India, the age limit to enter a billiard room used to be 18. And the Billiard and Snooker Federation of India, they sent a circular to all the clubs, we want to have a junior national championship, so please reduce your age limit to 12. And I became, my club I used to go to, I became the first kind of person. I was 12 and a half at the time. I went and started playing billiards. And within 6 months of playing billiards, I stopped all other sport. So just, it was like fish taking to water. It's just, I found some kind of, connect to the game, and that's it. So within a year, I kind of won the state championship. The second year, when I was 15, I won the first ever national junior billiard championship. And like Anand said, you kept getting these benchmarks, and that kept you motivated. And before you know it, that's the only thing I knew, and that's the only thing I wanted to do.
Thank you for sharing, sir. I was reading an article and you had mentioned in that, so I'll quote you, where you said there's a difference between passion and obsession. You can have different degrees of passion, but obsession is just one. So would you like to elaborate that for us, please?
Yeah, so whenever you talk of success or excellence, people keep giving this kind of a gyan that, you need to be passionate about something. And my take is that passion, if to be passionate about something, there are degrees. So there is a talent, then there is a little interest in something, and then that interest converts to perhaps sometimes a profession, and then you are very, very, eager to do something, and then the next degree is passion. And passion will make you damn good. It will make you very good. But to achieve excellence at a world stage, you will need to convert that passion to the nth degree of that kind of graph, and that's where obsession comes in. So to achieve excellence at the highest level, you need, I think, to be obsessed with what you're doing, obsessed with excellence, obsessed with understanding your subject, and I think obsession should be with understanding. To understand the subject that you are involved with. They're just degrees, and to achieve excellence at the highest level, you need to be obsessed. Yeah.
That's a great take, sir. Thank you. So how much did it take for you to become a 5-time world champion, winner of the professional level, and a 3-time winner of the amateur world championships?
What did it take? What did it take me? Actually, it didn't take me anything. I think it was, I mentioned it was like fish taking to water. So, you ask a fish, what did it take you to swim from here to wherever the fish is swimming? It doesn't take anything. It's clear that you are talented in that particular field. It's clear, that you are passionate at that point in time. But when that passion converts to obsession because of, again, I'm repeating what Anand said, you kept getting benchmarks. Within 2 years, I won a junior national championship. Within 5 years of that, I defeated Michael Ferreira, who was the then world champion. He had just come back from winning his 3rd world championship, and I defeated him in the national championship. So suddenly you say, hey, he's this 19-year-old kid, he's just defeated a 3-time world champion, and you say, oh, I can do it. So it just kept on going from one step to the other. So I don't even know what it took. It took obsession. It took towards then the latter part of when you become a professional athlete and a professional sports person, I think it took for me suppressing emotion. So I believe that when you have to perform at a global stage, constantly playing a tournament every week or every 20 days you're playing a tournament, you need to be almost unemotional about other things in life and kind of. So I think it took, when I was playing actively till about eight years ago, I just had to suppress my emotions. So if at all I say something, it was I suppressed emotion to kind of achieve all those titles, and in a very conscious kind of manner. And I used to not cry. I mean, it didn't affect me. I was not there when my son was born. I was not there when my daughter was born. My dad died. I was playing a tournament and I didn't come back. Very conscious, very, very conscious. But after I stopped playing, it's kind of boomerang. And, I cry watching a film and something will happen and I'll start weeping, So it's a total rebound. So.
Thank you, sir. It is very rightly said that it takes an army. And I'm sure it takes an army for a person to be a champion. And so I just want to know a little bit about your support system while you were growing up.
I think my dad was a big support system, and he was a support system in the fact that, more in the thing that he kind of kept me grounded. And I'll give you, and this I can see it in retrospect. So here I am, 15 years old. I come back from Jamshedpur on a 48-hour train journey with a huge silver trophy, having won the junior national championship. And he picks me up from the railway station, and he had a Lambretta scooter, and I sit on it, one small bag, one long queue, and this big trophy. I sit on it, and he takes me home. My mom opens the door, and of course, she's gushing all over, "Beta, Geet ke aaya hai," and she's make gajar ka halwa and lovely food, and my dad's just sitting quietly on the side, and my mom finishes fussing all over me, and I reached around lunchtime, so lunch, everything over, and my dad's sitting on the side, and he just kind of then, after I finished my lunch, he just says, "Arey beta, mera juta polish kar de yaar." And every time I would win, till I was 20 or 21, every time I would win some championship and come back with some silver, he would, just say, "Beta, mera scooter ka carburetor saaf kar de." He had trained me how to remove a carburetor from a scooter, clean it, and put it back in. So I think that was his wisdom of kind of giving me a menial task always. So, every time when I speak to people and, who've suddenly achieved a lot of fame and who've achieved suddenly a lot of money, and, I keep telling them, I said, I think you should polish shoes, so, but he was a big support system, yeah.
You mentioned that you would play internationally, within a week's time, within 15 days, 20 days. So how did you prepare yourself mentally? Did you have a pre-tournament or a particular pre-match routine or something you would like to share?
No, it was just, it was just playing a tournament. You practice. If you're not playing, you're practicing. It was as simple as that. And until the time I was 24 or 25, it was either I'm on the practice table or I'm sleeping. Perhaps I'm reading a little bit. I used to read a lot. Now I don't read. After the mobile phone has come, I just don't read. So, but that was it. So there was no special preparation as such. It was just, I was so blinkered in trying to understand the behavior of those three spheres on a 12x6 table that I was just not. There was no preparation. It was just practice, and it was tournaments. Later, I think when, you get married, I get kids, that's the time I had to start coming up with some kind of a system where I had to blinker off a lot of stuff that happens in life, with emotion, with families, with social structures. That's the time then I started blinkering off consciously stuff. But it's when you're totally involved in something, it's the involvement is so intense that just the practice, when you're on a practice table, that is really the preparation for your championship, and you hone your skills so much that you're confident enough that when you go there, I'll be able to hopefully produce my best.
Thank you, sir. This is reference to one of the interview which I was seeing. And you said from 1989 to 1992, you had a slump. and it was majorly because of some difference in the technique. So you had to unlearn and relearn. So what are your reflections of that whole process?
So I was 24 and I won the World Amateur Billiard Championship in Delhi at the Taj Palace Hotel here. And in 1987, and those days World Championships used to be held every 2 years. So in 1987, I defended my World Championship in Belfast in Ireland. It was the same day that I think Anand won his World Junior Chess Championship. So 85, 87, end of 88, 89 at the Nationals in Guntur, I created a world record in snooker. So I was like I was playing exceptional billiards and snooker. And so this was 14 years after I had started. And then suddenly in 89, my form slumped. And it kind of, not suddenly, but over a period of 6 months, my game started deteriorating. And till a point that I could, in terms of benchmarks, I couldn't make a 100 break where I was making 500-600 breaks in billiards. So my game dropped almost 80%. And I kind of, very frustrating. So I started, and I was a very, how do I put it, a very instinctive player. So I never studied technique. There was no coach who coached me. I just picked up a cue, went to the table, and I started playing. And it so happened that I started, winning. But my technique was not good. So when your technique is not good, and then some faults creep into it's a mishmash of stuff which happens, but it happens to make your cue go straight. So in that mismatch of whatever various things, your bridge, your arm, your shoulder, everything, being in line, something goes faulty, and it's a precision sport. So that's what happened, and I had no reference point because I was playing instinctively. So that's the time I went to a coach. I went to, at that time, one of the greatest snooker players of all time, a guy called Steve Davis, and I said, this is my technique now, and so he said, your technique is rubbish. And and that was the best advice, the best 2 words that I ever heard, that 4 words, your technique is rubbish. So I took coaching from I went to a coach. He kind of told me what to do, but then I had to come back to India and de-learn, because it's muscle memory. In a physical sport, there's muscle memory which gets built. So that muscle memory had to be de-learned. I had to relearn a new technique, and to do it after having won 2 world titles is very painful, because for 3 years I kept losing in the first round. I was still playing championships, but I kept losing in the first round. So very frustrating. But on the side, and that's the time I started working 18 hours a day. I would play tournaments, and then I would come and just lock myself into the billiard room and play for 7, 8, 10 hours, learning the new technique. And it took 3 years. The de-learning, then the learning, 3 years. And then 92 I emerged, I won a world professional championship, and then I won 7 more world titles. So that was the story of.
Thank you for sharing, sir. Your message, advice to the younger generation of today.
I think at this phase of your lives, you've got to explore. You've got to play everything, read everything, watch everything, and then and this is the phase for you to figure out what you really want to do. But finally, you'll have to do one thing, or like Anand said, in today's world, perhaps you'll have to take up 2 careers. But at this stage, explore. But the one thing I'd like to just whatever you do, try and understand the subject. Whatever the subject may be, it could be cricket, football, art, music, physics, math, English, whatever. But understand, spend your time in understanding the subject. But all of you have got immense talent here. We inherently are talented. There's a theory called the multiple intelligence theory in education, which says that all of us have got some unique intelligence, and it's sport and music, architectural, spatial intelligence. There's so many intelligences. Try and figure that out, and including the educators here, try and figure out what that intelligence is, and then go after that particular intelligence. So explore.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, just in the interest of time, we will be able to take 2 or 3 questions. So I'm opening up for the audience. Students, if you have questions.
Right. So, hi. First off, okay. Right. So you said that when you were playing chess, thank you. When you said that you were playing chess, you didn't have, obviously you did have some challenges that went your way, but while looking back, I have read about you, it's somewhat, and my question to you is, if you did face challenges, which you did, how did you overcome them? Because you did say that you felt miserable when you lost a game, but you had to put on your, like in the Beatles, like the Beatles say, Eleanor Rigby. So you had to put your Eleanor Rigby on for the public to actually know that you actually aren't going through a loss. And when you go home, you break down. So that's exactly for me, because I'm a sports person as well. But my question to you is, how did you actually get the confidence to put on your public face, or your face on, like you haven't done anything. So how did you actually get, and how do you get the courage to do so? Jeez, that was horrible. I'm so scared.
I've never thought of it as Eleanor Rigby, but anyway. It's partially by you play multiple tournaments, you have experiences, and this is what they're for. You see that the times you lost 2 games in a row, why did you lose the second day? How did you feel in the morning after losing the first game? And you eventually see some pattern. You keep working on the game to be played, but every once in a while you keep looking back in anger at the previous game or something like that. And then you realize that you have to stop it. Now, it's very hard to break your habits, but over time you'll see that you have to find some way to push it aside. Maybe you're not reconciled to it, but you push it aside and you force yourself to focus. Equally, technical work, psychological work, everything has to work around that. One of the reasons I did badly was simply when I had a bad night's sleep. So what happens? You lose a game, the position in the head doesn't go away from your head. The whole night, okay, don't have to exaggerate, but let's say easily till 2 or 3 in the morning, you're sitting there. What you should have done, and you're getting angry, and then you think what you actually did, and how could I do it? I've made this similar mistake times before, etc., etc. So it's practice. Some of it is focused work. You can take that position, look at it till you're able to accept it, and then the next time you make a conscious effort not to do the same. And you do conscious effort till it becomes unconscious, till it becomes automatic. And that's the thing. All habits, they are unpleasant at the beginning to start. You force yourself to do it, but every time you do it, it becomes easier. And now it's second nature for me. As soon as I lose a game, my first thought is, how am I going to go to sleep tonight? And so it might mean that I go to the gym and run at 9 in the evening after the game, so that I'm tired and I fall asleep. So you work backwards after that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We can have 2 more.
Good afternoon, sir. First of all, I'd like to start by wishing you a very happy belated birthday and many happy returns of the day. Hope you had a great day yesterday. So, sir, my question's going to be about the World Championship match, which we are less than 4 months out of. Pretty much a first of its kind, with it being the first match since 1948 when an incumbent world champion won't be playing. So we all know that the entire cycle was dominated by you winning 5 titles, 4 consecutive ones from 2006 till 2012 in the first decade of the century, and then subsequently Magnus Carlsen till the match against Jan Nepomuceno in 2021. And now we have a Ding versus Nepomuceno match starting in April, which, as I mentioned, we are barely 3.5 months out of. So my question is going to be threefold. First of all, whom are you supporting and who's your pick to win the match? And then what do you think the entire chess world landscape would look like, considering the fact that we'd be having new world champion very soon, and that Magnus Carlsen, despite his decision not to participate in the World Championship match, would still continue playing at length elsewhere, and just about everything that surrounds it.
So the World Championship first, we have to find the organizer and get it, the date and all fixed. Tentatively it's scheduled for April, and I think we will succeed in putting it there. It's hard to pick the stronger player. It usually is. Even in the previous match, you could say who was the stronger player, but that the stronger player would be the winner is harder to say, because both sides are going to train very hard. I think Ding is more stable overall, but Jan's upwards swings are higher. In a sense, when he's in shape, he can turn things around. And both of them have shown good results the last year, so I honestly can't pick. And as for the current situation that Carlsen has left, sometimes you just have to accept the situation, deal with it. There is no solution to this. But you put on a good match, the games are entertaining, the public comes, and then you're on to the next thing.
Thank you, sir. Now, one last question for Geet, sir.
So my question goes out to Geet sir. So we know that as an athlete, one of the biggest parts of sport is the mental aspect, and if we're on an all-time confidence low, it's very tough to bounce back. So my question is, how to bounce back? How to find the confidence to find your way back up? That's my question.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and finally you will bounce. So it's not just one bounce back. Over the years, over the next 20, 30 years, you're going to have various bounce backs. You're going to have, you'll fall down, then you'll have to bounce back. So actually it's practice. And the fact is you will fail. You will fail, and that's the time to either brood or brood and then do something about it. And you fail. Why do you fail? Because you've not prepared well enough, or you're doing something wrong. So it's a constant learning. But the bounce back and the mental toughness part comes with practice. Not just saying, I've lost and it's over and done with and you get depressed. So that's not the point. And also you need to have inherent confidence that you'll do well. That you'll understand whatever you're doing, and you'll keep getting small goals, that in a month's time I'm going to be better than what I did today. I failed today. In a month's time I'll do better. And that's how you bounce back. Not by putting a goal, I've just failed and after 6 years I want to win a world title, or I want to win the 100 meters in 9.8 seconds. That's not how it works. So it works with short-term goals. That's how you bounce back. And it works with constant practice. So bouncing back is also an art for which you have to constantly practice.
Right. Thank you, sir. Once again, on behalf of the entire Shiv Nadar School fraternity, I take this opportunity to thank both of you for sharing such interesting and inspiring insight. Thank you for being here with us today. May I request the students to kindly be seated till the guests have left. Please be seated.